How you do that, Dale? Ooh, how you do that, Dale? Ooh, and I ain't mad about it. I am your man's Nick Rattlehead, and behind this camera, somewhere out in California, is my man's, my buddy, my pal, my compadre, my amigo. My man's with the master plan 100 grand, only you, me, and God knows how much I love this dude, man. Tell him one more time what's your name. Matt the Graph. Matt the Graph. And we would like to collectively welcome you guys to Aftershock Reviews, your place for the best extreme music reviews. And today we have hit the apex of 2024. It is the list episode. And in this episode, we shall go over my top 5 EPs of 2020. We shall also go over the top, it's the big dog too, the top 10 albums of 2020, this challenging year. This it's just been a rough ride, but at the same time, though, to help us get through, these artists have blessed us with their artwork, for even some of them, their opuses, because that's exactly what a lot of these things are. They're opuses, right? They have been so good. A lot of these artists, to me, even hit the peak of what they could possibly do, and to me, I'm waiting for them to break it. I'm waiting for them to go through that glass ceiling, but we shall get to that in a second. Let's talk about these EPs real quick. And I mean, also lay the ground rules for this as well. These lists will not only contain metal. There shall be jazz. There shall be R&B. And I'm telling you right now, even if you're not into those genres, I highly suggest that you expand your horizons, so to speak, and check them out because they are awesome. If we're the best place for extreme music reviews, they are extremely good. Ooh, man, you get it? Because I said extreme music reviews, but they are extremely good, even though they're not. You see, whatever. I know I'm good. I know I'm good at this thing. It's not a game. So let's get into it. Our top 5 EPs of 2020, right? And now I want to start it off with To Feel Alive by Kali Uchis. Right now, I love Kali Uchis. Anybody who knows me knows that I loved Isolation. I love her new album that I can't pronounce right now, but I highly suggest that you go check it out. It's in like 90% Spanish. It's so great. But To Feel Alive, though, is an album where she did she not even did most, all of the songwriting and the production. And it is phenomenal. Because usually when it comes to Kali Uchis, especially when it came to Isolation, there was a plethora of different producers and things of that nature that helped craft the sound of that, right? But here it is just her in Isolation, writing everything. And it is phenomenal, especially songs like I Want War, But I Need Peace. So good. It's so good. I highly suggest that you check it out. It's called To Feel Alive by Kali Uchis. Next, The Black Moon by Holy Fawn. I loves me some shoegaze, bro. I do. And this is a primo slice of it. Especially when you're talking about songs that lead off the EP like Candy. It is so good. It is so good. It is, listen to me, look at his face. It is so good. Please check it out. It is called The Black Moon by Holy Fawn. Next, let's talk about Preparations for Human Disposal. We have a whole review dedicated to this EP, and it deserves it. Every single thing I say about that album in that review stands true now. It is so good. It is a slice of underground New York death metal that's grimy, sludgy, slimy. It stinks. It's putrid. It's like Splinter hawked it up from the sewer, and it's awesome. I love it. It is called Preparation for Human Disposal. Why do I always mess that up? Sorry, guys. Preparations for Human Disposal by Graveson. It is so good. Now, let's also talk about Clairvoyance's demo, Clairvoyance. It's so good. It's atmospheric. It's dark. Hints of black metal. Hints of doom metal. A big, huge scoop of death metal thrown into it. It's absolutely great. Ooh, and it leaves an aftertaste. It's good. Ooh, it's real good. Check this out. It's called Clairvoyance by Clairvoyance. It is absolutely great. And now the coup de grace, Pustulant Spawn by Evils. Let me tell you about something about this EP real quick. If Mick Foley, let's put this in perspective. If Mick Foley comes out. And you heard that name right. Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, Dude Love, Mankind. If he comes out and says how good your EP is, the hardcore legend comes out and says that, your freaking EP is hard body. It is nothing but it is a slab of big nuts death metal. That's exactly what it is. It's big nuts death metal, and it's good. It is out on Transylvanian Recordings. I got a little excited there, but for good reason, because I'm telling you, it will mow you down, bro. It is good. It is called Pestilent Spawn by Evils, and those are our top 5 EPs of this year. I'm telling you right now, to feel alive, man, please check that out. The Black Moon, Preparations for Human Disposal. I don't know why I always struggle with that. Clairvoyance and Pestilent Spawn. I will have links for those in the description below once this review drops or this list drops. Please go check them out. Please go buy them if you can. And if they have merch still available to you, because I know it's the holiday season, probably a lot of people already kind of scooped it up. But if you can find something, if you can find a shirt in your size or whatever, if you can still find vinyls or something, please pick it up. Please support these artists because they are great. Now, honorable mentions. Now, the reason why I have honorable mentions is because there has been so much music that has come out this year. My iTunes year-end roundup, I think that's what they call it, I've listened to well over like maybe 150 or if not more albums this year. And that's me probably drastically underselling it. And this is not me also trying to say, I listen to a whole bunch of music, yada, 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 look how important I am. No, I'm saying this because it is hard, right, to really look and then like out of a sea of great albums, out of just a tub of good albums, just to pick 10, right? And because of that, I had to cheat. I have to cheat, and I had to get like 2 extra ones and just call them honorable mentions, since I can't really put them in the top 10 because they are so good. Because they stick with me, man. Like, and we'll get to that even more when it comes to the top 10. But these honorable mentions really stick with me. I love them. So good, so good. And we're gonna start the honorable mentions off with Self-Surgery by Mrs. Piss. I love grunge, man. I love 90s grunge. I love Soundgarden. I love Hole. I love 7 Year Bitch. I love Alice in Chains. I love Malfunction. I love Mother Love Bone, Temple of all these different bands, right? And I think Mrs. Piss encompasses all of them at some point, whether the way that the production is approached, right, is actually very cavernous, but it's also very dirty and smudgy, right? Kind of like an old 90s grunge album kind of is, especially if you listen to like a Dirt, right? It sounds almost identical, like it came out during that time. It's so great. And then like the lyrical themes of excess and owning your filth and throwing it into people's faces and being like, yo, man, this is what it is. Deal. It's so good. Oh my gosh. And the vocal delivery by Chelsea Wolfe is something that you're not going to get. I have not heard Chelsea Wolfe sound like this, and it's absolutely great. It's phenomenal. And Jess Gorey on her drums and the production. Listen to me. Self-Surgery is great. It's quick and it's in and it's out, but it is so memorable because of that. Songs like Knelt. Oh my gosh. Please check this out. It is called Self-Surgery by Mrs. Piss. Now, the second one is called Apex Profane by Miasmatic. I have to make sure I said that slow. Miasmatic Necrosis. Look, listen to me. This is nasty. This thing is gross. It's not, it ain't right. I'm telling you, it's bone snapping, and then it stomps on the bone, spits on it, takes a piss on it, and then throws it in the trash can, and then burns it up. It's great. Oh my gosh. It has a really thick atmosphere to it, and it's so overwhelming, and it just lays on top of you. It is nasty. It is so vile, but it is so good, and it's such a great experience. I absolutely love it. And then on top of that, the artwork and the layout is by the awesome Mark McCoy. Oh, and if you know me, You know I love Mark McCoy's work. It's good, man. Listen, I highly suggest that you listen to this. And like I said before, we will have links for these down below. Please check these out because it is so good. Oh my gosh. It is called, yet again, Apex Profane by, saying it slow, Miasmatic Necrosis. Yes. Yes. Now, here we are. Slow it down. Top 10. Like I said before, this has been a great year for music. And I think it's also helped a lot of us, and I'll probably just speak for myself. It really helped me get through a really, really tough year, right? A really tough year, a really trying year, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. Not in the fact that the year is ending, but I think maybe, and this is probably me just being naive and, probably just trying to look for the best in everything. I really think it's going to be better next year. I hope it's going to be better next year. But getting through these 365, not been easy, but this music has been such a help. And I've been able to listen to it like I haven't listened to music in a while, especially in the quarantine. I can sit with my music like I haven't since I was in high school, when I used to listen to Dave Matthews Band and Helmet and The Cure and stuff like that. And I would sit in a room and it would be just my headphones, my crappy little JVC headphones. And you'd sit there and you'd listen to the music for hours, man, just hours. And that's what it was like this year. It was such a breath of fresh air. And at the same time, it was something that really did help my mental health. And it was so great. And these 10 albums really were the epitome of that, right? So what is our number 10 album? I'm glad you asked. Our number 10 album, and I quote, is Dead Kids R.I.P. City by Softkill. I love new wave. I love dark wave. And this album is just the epitome of that for me from this year. I'm new to the Softkill train, which is why you probably never heard me really talk about them. But this was an album that really did catch my ear, right? And I think I was blessed to actually be able to listen to it the way that I was, because I know they also did 1,000 pressings of the CD, right? So I was like, oh, wait, how many do they have left? 30? Oh, I'm buying this right now because it is so good. It is so immersive. And it is such, although it has very dark themes to it, right? Of death and stuff like that. The approach to it can be joyous, but also switch feet on you and be depressing. But songs like Dougie, this is a good album that I highly suggest you do not sleep on. It is so great. It is so great. It is here, man. I love this album. I really do. The name of this album is called Dead Kids R.I.P. City by Softkill. Now, number 9 is The World That Was by Temple of Void. If you saw the review for this album, you know how much I dig this album. And I still dig it just as much as I did then. And I believe that this album is one of the best, if not even one of the best. It is the best Death Doom album I've heard this year. These guys really stuck their foot into it, especially with tracks like A Beast Among Us and Schism and Leave the Light Behind. Oh my gosh, Leave the Light Behind is still one of the best tracks, man, especially with that clean vocal that walks hand in hand with that guttural death metal approach. It is so great. And I'm so happy that these guys actually signed to Relapse Records, and they announced that we're going to get another album next year. Let's go, guys. Yes, my number 9 album is The World That Was by Temple of Void. Now, number 8. This is where we switch it up a little bit. My number 8 album is A Suite for Max Brown by Jeff Parker. Oh my gosh. This is one of the best experiences with music, because it's almost like atmospherical jazz, and it's so experimental. And it also takes a lot of hints from hip hop and from R&B and from fusion, and it melds it all together into something that's very almost transcendental, right? Especially on its more somber moments, it's more quieter moments, it's more introspective introspective moments, this album really has a knack for being able to switch pace where it actually does flood the listener with a torrential downpour of notes, right? But then at the same time, it knows how to let samples paint a picture and drag out notes or let notes be approached sparingly throughout the mix. It is so good. Any jazz fan, if you're listening, if anybody in the audience now is a jazz fan and you have not listened to this, shame on you, because it is such a great experience. The name of this album, again, at our number 8 spot, is called A Suite for Max Brown by Jeff Parker. Phenomenal. Now, our number 7 album is one that I was excited about and one that I love this thing. And I'm telling you, I'm watching this band with a microscope. The name of this album at our number 7 spot is Speciation by Faceless Burial. I hold fast to what I said before. In the future, we're going to look at this and we're going to say classic. That's exactly what we're going to say. In the future, we're going to look at this. We're going to say this is this album that influenced a whole bunch of magnificent and forward-thinking death metal acts. It's so good. It's so good in the way that they approach death metal with a surgeon's scalpel rather than a big sledgehammer. Now, keep in mind, I'm like Ernest. I love me a big sledgehammer. I love me a big mallet, because give me my mallet. Because I love that with death metal, but I also love when somebody's able to think their way through it and craft intricate riffs, because that's exactly what it is. And it is so phenomenal. Oh my gosh. But they do also have a knack to get really stupid really quick. And it's good. This is a master stroke, and this is a master class on how to approach death metal. It is so good. And the number 7 album is Speciation by Faceless Burial. Now, number 6 is an album that I was really looking forward to since the moment they said it was going to come out earlier this year. And the name of it is called Sulfuric Disintegration by A Feather and Bone. This album is great. This album is a flurry. This album is like being in the ring with Floyd Mayweather or being in the ring with Mike Tyson in the 90s. Because it will knock you on your butt. It is, God, heavens to Megatroid. Because this album is so quick. This album throws a lot at you, right? But at the same time, because of its frantic pace, for 90% of its runtime, you miss the details, you miss the intricacies of what's going on, which is why I encourage people to go back and to give it more listens, because then you start to be able to pull out different nuances that are buried within the symphonic disaster that is this album. It's so freaking good. And the percussion is great riffing, great black metal vocals, great death metal vocals, but at the same time, that percussionist to me is the star of the show, because the way that he is able to approach this frantic pace but switch it up and make it consistent is good. It's good. It's great stuff. Number 6 is Sulfuric Disintegration by A Feather and Bone. We are in the top 5 now. Top 5 of 2020. And we have to do it. But we're going to get through it. So good. My number 5 album this year is Devouring Ruin by Wake. You're starting to notice something. Nick likes his grindcore, but Nick also likes when grindcore is incorporated with different elements, right? And what is one of my favorite toppings, so to speak? Black metal. I love black metal with my death metal. I love black metal with my doom metal. I love black metal with my grindcore. And that's exactly what's going on here, because there is a hint of not even a hint, just a pouring of black metal on top of my grindcore cake. And it's good. Oh my gosh. And listen, the Abyssal Plane, or this Abyssal Plane, whichever one it is, right, is one of my favorite tracks of this year. And it is so elastic in the way that it approaches the different styles of this band. This band has really grown, especially from Misery Rites from 2018. This band has grown. Gone are the assistants from people like Ethan McCarthy, right? And instead what we have is a black grindcore album that attacks themes of like, sleep deprivation and demonic activity. It's great. It is so awesome. I love this album. I absolutely love this album. In its doomier moments, like on Torchbearer, which to me, yes, it's doomy, but it also has big death metal nuts as well, because it feels to me like a Primitive Man track. Oh my gosh. Especially in its slow, heavy, monolithic approach. And it swings and it's Titan-like. It is so good. Oh my gosh. If you have not listened to Devouring Ruined by Wake, I need you to get better. I need you to get your life in order, get yourself in check, and listen to this album because it is so good. I say this with all the passion I have in my soul. This album is great. This album is so great. Number 5, Devouring Ruined by Wake. Number 4, We Get Dumb. We Get Stupid. All weak crap goes smooth out the window. My number 4 album is Ignorance Exalted by Fluids. Yes, listen to me. This is nothing but a good time. It's at the expense of probably somebody being gutted to death right in front of me, which also makes me kind of feel a little bit bad that I probably enjoy this album as much as I do, because it's probably the auditory equivalent of a snuff film, but it is great. It is so, especially tracks like Quartered and Hammered. Oh my gosh. Look, this album ain't for the faint of heart. It's not. And if you have a weak stomach, if you get queasy at the sight of blood, or if you get queasy hearing like gory type of sounds like bone snapping and like flesh being, I highly just leave us alone and keep going. But if you got the stones for it, if you got the cojones for it, this is not something you want to pass up. This is great. This is awesome. And I highly suggest you check it out. It is so freaking wonderful. Yeah, I cannot stress this enough. The name of this album at my number 4 spot is Ignorance Exalted by Fluids. Now, number 3. See, the top 3 albums, and I'm crying a little bit because I'm so emotional that this day is ending. Actually, it's just allergies, so pardon me real quick. Whew, there we go. Now, my number 3 album is a great grindcore album. Surprise, right? But to me, it is the best grindcore album of this year. The best, and it's not close. The name of this album is called Grieving Birth by Internal Rot. This thing was great. Oh my gosh. And you look at it and you see a laundry list of tracks and you're like, I don't feel like going through this, but they're so wonderful and so expertly crafted. And it is so great, especially when you look back at their previous work like Mental Hygiene, right? Where Mental Hygiene felt cavernous, where Mental Hygiene felt like there was distance between you and the danger. Grieving Birth makes it feel like you are up close on it. It ain't right, but it's great. And then it guts you like a stuffed pig. And Orbiting Flesh, man, Chronic Bedlam, Harpooned, listen to me. This good. Look, I have no words. I'm stumbling on them because it is just that good. It is that expertly crafted. It is that atmospheric. And it is that engaging. It is that immersive. It is that great. Listen to it. At number 3, I have Grieving Birth by Internal Rot. Good freaking stuff, man. Good stuff. Number two is, and I'm excited about this one. Number 2 is Leon LaHavis by Leon LaHavis. Look, I know you see the chains. I know you see the Power Trip shirt, the Full of Hell hat, the denim vest with the thing. Look, I get it, but I love R&B with all my heart and soul. I love R&B, and I love singer-songwriter type of things as well. And Leon LaHavis's self-titled album scratches all those itches in the best possible way. It is so great. Now, her previous album, Blood, which I think was released 5 years prior to this one, so that's a good long gap, was way more meticulously crafted, right? Way more produced, has a little bit more of a glisten on it because For me, I know my friend, and this is where I give a shout out to my buddy, Jay Burritos, right? He used to try his darndest to get me to check out Leon LaHavas, but I would see all of the pop glisten on the covers and all this stuff. I'm like, she's pretty, and I'm sure she's talented, especially if you like her. If you like her, I know she got the sauce. But the way she's kind of marketed, I'm kind of good, right? I saw... And this is how strong cover art is. This is how strong and influential cover art can be. I saw the cover art for this, and it's literally just like almost like a low-res picture of her, and she has her hand in her cool flowing fro, and she's smiling. I said, that's dope, bruh. And I listened to it, and Bittersweet opens up that album. And I was like, what in the hell have I been missing? Oh my gosh, dude, this album, oh my God, Green Papaya, dude, so good. Paper Thin, or to me, the shining gem that is smack center in the middle of this album is the Radiohead cover of Weird Fishes. It ain't Radiohead's song no more. It's kind of like how Whitney Houston took Dolly Parton's I Will Always Love You, and now it's a Whitney Houston song, even though Dolly Parton did it first and it's technically her song. Yeah, listen to me. Weird Fish is no longer, it's no longer a Radiohead song. It's not. It's a Leon LaHavas song. Radiohead just wrote it because it is that great. Oh my gosh. Now it is a little bit faithful in the way that it actually starts off a little bit with that weird offbeat drum intro, right? But the way that it goes is not almost electronic and synth laden like the Radiohead version is, and almost like, mathematical as the Radiohead version is. This one is like they're all in a room together and they record it on an analog tape. And it literally feels like five friends are just kicking it in a recording studio. And what you get is, to me, one of the most honest expressions of musical genius I've heard this year. It is great, especially after you have this vocal stretch where it's literally them just singing in a harmony. I don't know if it's a 4 or 5 part harmony, but it's just them singing, and weird fishes picked over by the worms. Isn't so good? Oh my God. And then it explodes into euphoria. It explodes into nirvana, and it is absolutely phenomenal. And listen, please check this out. It is so good. It is so good. The name of the album, again, at my number 2 spot, is Leon LaHavas by Leon LaHavas. We are here. We are here. My number 1 album. And of all the genius that I got this year, the number 1 album to me needed to be an album that I revisited the most. It needed to be an album that I related to the most. It needed to be an album that resonated with me, not just from a lyrical content, but also from a sonic content too. I wanted the instruments to kind of replicate how I felt all of 2020, right? It needed to be the perfect cocktail at the perfect time for me to really put it up here. And I think this album it's tops, man. At least for me. Now, I know some people might be like, oh, my number 1 album is different. Well, I get that. That's cool. But for me, this year, my number 1 album is Años en Infierno by XIBALBA. Look, listen to me. Years in Hell summarizes from 2016 to 2020, right? And I know the band makes it a little bit more personal, right? But for me, and that's the great thing about music, it can be interpreted in so many different ways, right? For me, it's a situation where, dude, this whole administration has been garbo, at least in my opinion right now. I know other people have other opinions. This is not a political show. I'm not trying to do that, but I'm just trying to explain to you how I feel about it, right? And you're free to disagree, but for me, that's how I feel, right? Especially after this year, and especially having somebody that doesn't denounce white supremacy or encourages, at least to me, racial violence and racial discourse and stuff like that, right? And makes me feel unsafe and makes me feel like my skin is a death sentence, right? it's years in hell, and that's how I feel, right? Oh my gosh. But this album summarizes the fury, right? This album summarizes the frustration, right? This album also, to me, epitomizes the sadness, especially when it comes to like El Abismo Part 1 and Part 2. Part 1 more in particular, because it has those more somber, doom-laden, reverb-drenched guitars, right? This album is the pits, right? I don't want to say the pits. It is the Cats. This is the Barney Fife. That's a Barney Fife reference. If you like the Andrew Griffith Show, that's a Barney Fife reference. When he was expressing his love for Thelma Lou, and he didn't know how to tell her though. He was just like, "Yo, Thelma Lou, you're the Cats. So XIBALBA, I know how to express myself. XIBALBA, you're the Cats." Because this was the album I needed in 2020, especially when the riots were going on, right? And I could hear from my window, I could hear the police, and this is true, the police sirens, and you could hear Black Lives Matter, and, you know, all lives matter, and all that stuff going on outside your window, right? You could hear fireworks and all that other good stuff. In the midst of all that, you have, for me, the soundtrack of Años en Infierno, the title track, Años en Infierno, playing through your headphones, trying to block out everything that's going on outside of that window, outside of these walls, right? And it was the perfect expression, especially as it stops, because it is a death metal album. It has doom metal aspects, and it also has hardcore aspects, especially when it comes to the breakdowns, especially on tracks like Santa Muerte, right? Or the instrumental Saka, which I ain't no telling how many times I've listened to that track. iTunes would probably snitch on me if I went and looked up the play count. It's probably astronomical how many times I've listened to that track. But Años en Infierno takes the cake because it hits it and he just screams it, and I feel it in my stomach, in my chest every time I have, and it's December, and I still feel it just the same as when I first heard it. Años en Infierno, buscando paz. Años en Infierno, perdóname. It is so good. This album is everything I needed it to be in a rough year, to help me blow off steam, to help me get out frustration, to help me get out pain, to help me get out just every negative emotion I possibly felt in this year. And it was cathartic, and it was great, and I freaking love this thing. I can't... Listen to me. Listen to me. If you don't listen to anything else that I've said in the past, over 30 minutes, if you don't listen to any other album I've mentioned in this video, you have to listen to that. If you love me, if you love this guy, if I'm your mans, if I'm your mans with the master plan, 100 grand, please check out Años en Infierno by XIBALBA. I will leave a link for that in the description below. Buy the album. Every album that I've mentioned, I have over there in a CD form or a vinyl form. I have it over there because you have to support your bands. You have to, especially during this time when they can't tour. You have to. So I'll leave a link below for their Bandcamp. Buy a shirt. They have shirts on Cold Cuts merch that you can go and check out and you can get. You can also, I don't know if they've sold out all of the Años en Infierno long sleeves and short sleeves that they have on Southern Lord's website, but you can go and just support, man, because this album was everything to me. Everything. This is Años en Infierno is my #1 album of 2020. Thank you guys for riding with me and Matt throughout this turbulent year. I hope we had fun doing this, but I also hope that you guys had fun watching this and you got, most importantly, some type of recommendation to an album that meant something to you, some type of recommendation that led you to an album that stuck with you this year. Thank you guys again. We love y'all, man. I am your man's Nick Rattlehead, and behind this camera is my man's with the master plan, 100 grand, and I cannot tell you enough just how much I love you, man. I really do. I really do. Thank you for all that you do, because I know maybe I'm just the face of it, right? You see me on this camera, but Matt is equally, if not more important to the show than I am, because he's the one who's doing the edits. He's the one who's making all the cool jokes here and everything, and the Will Smith claps and everything else that we do. Like it comes from his head. And I cannot say enough how much I appreciate the fact that he's doing this with me. And I appreciate him just as a person. Like, thanks, dude. Wash your hands, support your bands. We'll see you next year. And how you do that, Dale? Ooh.